You can talk to me. I want you to interact with me, right? We're all human. So again, I forget things, and you want to write things down. And this is something that I learned a long time ago, especially when you're coming into any situation in life. You want to write these 5 words down, 6 words down. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I don't ever want you to forget those words because you can apply it to everything. Everything. So there's a reason why she gave you a bag, and there's a reason why in your bag there was an ink pen, and there's a reason why in the bag there was an ink pen and paper so that you could always be prepared when somebody comes to speak to you. But guess what happens if you don't have your ink pen? What were all you all doing? Yeah, raise your hand, I need a pen, I need a pen. I don't have my bag, I don't have my bag. Some of you still don't have your bag, right? Right? So you weren't prepared. What happens when you're not prepared? You miss out on opportunities. There it is. Thank you, Deacon Jim. He said poor performance when you're not prepared. Anybody ever got up in the morning and forgot something they needed to take to school? Anybody ever got to school and forgot their lunch? Forgot their lunch money? Anybody ever got to school and forgot to study for the test? Right? If you prepare means you think about what you're going to do in advance. And so that's why I'm here today, is that I want to prepare you for maybe an opportunity in life, maybe things that you could do in the future. But I definitely want to talk to you about something that all of us have in common, and that's going to be handling money. Anybody familiar with money? Everybody? A few of you? So I guess the rest of you all never seen it, right? Yeah. Right? Okay, all right. So that's something that's in common. So that's what we're going to talk about. But before I go into that, let's start off with just sharing with you a little bit about who I am. There's a test that shows that if you share with people your background, meaning your family and who you are, they're more prone to listen to you. So that's why I put a picture of my family up here, just so I could get your attention. And so who I am, I'm a father of 2. Those are my son and daughter, Haley and Joey. They go to this church also. That's my wife. She and I have been married for 27 years. I've been serving as a financial advisor in the investment industry now ever since I graduated from college. Can anybody try to guess how many years they think I've been a financial advisor? Just a guess, how many years? 5? Okay, a little bit higher. A little bit higher. He said 33, a little lower, a little lower. He's warmer. 25, she's close, a little higher. Somebody said it. 30, that's right. This September. Yeah, this September of this year will be 30 years I've been in the industry. So that's how long I've been an advisor. And so during that time, I've also been able to do a lot of different things in terms of an entrepreneurial vein. I've tried some things that have worked. I've tried some things that haven't worked. For example, one time I was a producer of music. I was working with a person who was singing. We helped them produce an album. They got an album out, but that was the only thing that they did. And that's the thing. Anybody heard of the term entrepreneur? Entrepreneur? Anybody want to tell, what is an entrepreneur? Okay, he said someone, now the thing is, now when you talk to me, I got to hear you and you want everybody else to hear you. So what he said is somebody who likes to try to sell things. He's very close. Anybody else want to add to it, an entrepreneur? What they think an entrepreneur is? Okay, speak louder though. Someone who makes their own business. Okay, both of them are correct. I want to add one other thing to it, what an entrepreneur does. An entrepreneur sees a need in the society and they come up with a solution. That's all an entrepreneur is. So think of it this way. At one point in time, did you know people never wore gym shoes? Yeah, they never wore gym shoes. They used to wear sandals. Some people used to walk around bare feet. And somebody came up with the idea of shoes. Somebody came up with the idea of a car because people used to ride around in a horse and buggy. They came up with a solution. Someone realized it took a long time to walk or to ride a horse or buggy, and they came up with an airplane. And now today we ride in planes. So the person who sells things, they sell their idea, they sell their product, they sell their concept. It's to solve a problem in society. So guess what? I'm looking at somebody in here is going to be an entrepreneur. somebody in here is going to see an issue in society and they're going to come up with a better way of doing it. That's right. Like all of you all in here, how many people in here get haircuts or get their hair done? Right? Everybody, right? Right? But so imagine this. At one point in time, somebody came up with, there's got to be a better product for my hair. There's got to be a better way for me to wash my hair, or a better way for me to get my hair cut. And somebody just came up with a better way of doing it. So everything that you're doing now, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the games you play, the phones you talk on. Think about it. At one time, phones, every single phone used to have a wire attached to it, and it was on the wall in the kitchen. You all ever saw that before? No, it's not fun. I'm being for real. That was called a house phone, right? A house phone, you always had a wall in the kitchen, and on the wall was the phone, and you could only talk as long as the string would allow you to go. You couldn't go any further. But today, and did you know it or not, a black man developed the cell phone. Did you know that? A black man. He was the actual creator of a cell phone. And today, everybody has cell phones, and they're coming up with better ideas and better innovations. And so you all could be an entrepreneur, and that's what an entrepreneur is. Someone who comes up with an idea to solve a problem in society. So this tells you a little bit about me. I have a web page, talks about some of my services as an advisor, and then also one of the other business ventures that my wife and I started a couple of years ago is a home health care agency where we help take care of people in their homes. So again, being an entrepreneur, I saw a need. We saw a need in society where people needed help in their older years being taken care of. Anybody got any grandparents that need help? Nobody has grandparents that need help? What about great-grandparents that need help? Okay, a few, all right. So again, there's a business for that, being able to help them out, help them drive, help them do things around the house. And that's what our agency is, Seniors Helping Seniors. So it tells you a little bit about our two businesses. And one of the things that I want to share with you is whether you're an entrepreneur or a person that works for somebody else or works somewhere else, I'm going to talk to you about some character traits that are very important. How did I get here to be a financial advisor? Just like you all, I went to school. And so this shares with you a little bit about my education. I went to Detroit Public Schools in terms of middle school and elementary school. I went to Ferndale High School. Anybody heard of Ferndale? Ferndale, Michigan. Some small town right outside of Detroit. And then I went to school at Northwood University. That's where I obtained my Bachelor's of Business Administration degree. Does anybody in here want to go to college? Okay. All right, very good. All right, well, again, you can go to college, and there's also places that are called vocational schools. Anybody heard of a vocational school before? Okay, a vocational school is where they teach you a trade or a skill. Think of it this way. Think of the lights that come into this room. What is that called? It's light, but what brings light? Electricity. Did you know what? So there has to be a person that knows how to work on electricity in order for all these things to work, right? Right? Can your Wi-Fi work without electricity? Right? So think about that. That's a vocation, being an electrician. That is a need that society has. You can be an electrician. What about somewhere all of us go to wash our hands? What is that called? The bathroom. What's required for a bathroom to work? Starts with a P. Pipes, yeah, but that pipes is called what? Plumbing. Plumbing, right. You know what? You could be a plumber. A plumber is a vocation, a very needed skill in society. So for those of you who want to go to school, great. Begin to think about and start asking your parents for ideas of things you could do in life. If maybe you're like, I don't know if I want to go to school, think about a vocation. But bottom line is you're going to need to properly prepare. Everybody understand? You see how that ties right back in? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So you want to start thinking about what do you see yourself doing or what would you like to do? And then prepare yourself for it, whatever it be. But first of all, you got to do well in school. Everybody with me so far? All right. So these are going to, oops, I'm pointing the wrong way. I don't know if it's picking up for us, Brother Joe. Thank you, sir. So these are some very important, what I would call skill sets, attributes, personality traits that all of us, every one of you, needs to have no matter what you do in life. Anybody heard the term character? No? Character. Landon, what was character? Say it a little louder for me. That's true. He said a character can be a different person or different things like in a book or a movie. That's one definition of character. That's describing a person. But when we're talking about each of us individually, this is talking about your personality, your habits. So if I, for example, if I were to ask Miss Yates or Brother Ferguson or any other camp counselors about the personality of the kids, you've already demonstrated your character. For example, some of you might be very helpful. Who would say in here they're very helpful? Now, if I ask them that, they would agree with you? How many of them would say that you're always honest, always telling the truth? Okay, well, I'm glad you're being honest, the ones who didn't raise their hands, right? But understand that's an important character trait. Now, let me ask you this question. In business, think of it this way. Say you buy something. You come to a restaurant. I'm a fast food restaurant, and you say, I want a hamburger. Everybody ordered hamburgers before? And you get the hamburger, and let's say it's cold and it's not cooked. Would you come back to my restaurant? Somebody said no. Somebody said yes. Why wouldn't you come back to my restaurant? You said no, you wouldn't. Why wouldn't you come back? Okay, she said, why would she come back if the place isn't good? Okay, you would get a refund, but would you come back to eat? Why wouldn't you come back to eat? Poor service. That's another good one. So let's look at it this way. Imagine now, reverse it back to an individual. Let's say you always show up late. Let's say I always catch you telling a lie. Or let's say I catch you taking something that's not yours. Or let's say you're not responsible. I gave you an ink pen on Tuesday and you come back Wednesday without it. What is that telling me about your character? Say it again. Say it loud so everybody can hear it. Irresponsible. Irresponsible. Everybody heard what he said? Irresponsible. Do you know what irresponsible means? What does it mean? You're being bad, not paying attention. That means maybe you're talking when somebody else is talking. Right? Irresponsible, that's true. So let me ask this question. So now if you want to be a business owner, now if you want to be a leader in school, a leader in class, is that somebody you would follow? An irresponsible person? Why? You want to be responsible. So here we are again. We're tying it back into proper preparation. So I want to just share with you, these are some of the things that are going to be very important no matter what you do or where you go in life. You want to be a person of integrity, and you want to be a person that can handle responsibility. So these are just giving you some examples. A person that's responsible can be focused. They can be self-disciplined. Self-discipline means that if your mom or dad tells you to make up your bed, how many times should they tell you? That's right. They should only tell you one time. This is practice. This is practice for life, right? So if they tell you one time, do it. Be a person of integrity. Be a person that can be responsible. Be a person that can be reliable. When we talk about being honesty is really one of the most important things. Anybody ever caught a friend or a family member telling a story that you knew wasn't true? Yeah? So when they do that, are you more likely to believe them the next time? You remember the story about the boy who cried wolf? Remember they used to read that story? What was the problem in that story? Yes, in the orange shirt. That's right, everybody heard it. So he was lying about the wolf coming, lying. And then finally, when it really happened, nobody believed him, right? Do you want to be that person? That you really want to then tell somebody the truth and they don't believe you because you've always lied before? Always be honest. That's a key thing. You want to be a person of integrity and you want to be authentic. These are a list of some of the organizations that I participate in. So one of the traits that I mentioned a moment ago is what's called selflessness. You see it here, selflessness. Selflessness ties into these organizations because when you participate in an organization, it's not always about you. It's not always about you. You have to be willing to help other people. And how do you help other people? By participating in other groups and other organizations. So, for example, one of them here, and you all can write this down, I would recommend when you look into it as an adult, they have it for kids too. You can start in high school. It's called Toastmasters International. Anybody ever heard of Toastmasters? Okay, I know you all know how to do Google searches, right? All right, so write down Toastmasters and look it up. They have it for kids that are in high school. The reason why this is important, do you know what one of the most feared things to do or have happen to a person outside of dying? Does anybody know what that is? Do you know most people fear outside of dying? What is that? Anybody want to guess? She said God. No? What else? No? No? Anybody? No guesses? Do you know it? Yes, Landon? Say it again. Expenses for a funeral. Okay, no, not really. Did you know one of the number one fears that most adults have is public speaking? Public speaking means getting to stand up and talk in front of other people. Is anybody in here nervous about doing that? No? Yes? No? Okay. Why are you nervous about doing that? You don't want to embarrass yourself? Okay, all right. Anybody? You said you were nervous about doing it too. Why are you nervous about doing it? Start stuttering? Was there anything wrong with stuttering? Right? I guess it would be a group of kids like you would make fun of me if I started stuttering, right? Oh, see? See how you shook your head? Yeah? So if you're afraid of it, why would you laugh or tease somebody else about it? Right? Don't do that. Do you think somebody really wants to stutter? You don't make fun of something that happens to somebody if they're having trouble with it. The reason why people are so nervous about public speaking because they don't have a lot of practice doing it. And so that's where a place like Toastmasters can help you out. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. Then we have my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And you see here the logo of Gethsemane, my church. I support and participate in my church. That's called ministry work. All of you all have ministry work. That's just serving to somebody else's needs. So if you go home and you say, hey, Mom, don't worry about it. I'll wash the dishes tonight. That's serving somebody else's needs. That's actually being a selfless person. So I recommend everybody go home and help your parents out tonight and just wash the dishes without them asking. Now, why is that funny? Why is that funny to go home and wash? You don't think your mom or dad would be happy? Yeah, try it out. Try it out. Get home. Somebody just try it out. Go home, wash the dishes without your parents saying a word. And they're going to look at you and say, what happened today? Right? Why did you do that? So again, these are other groups. There's another one here, MDRT, that's related to my business, other people in the financial services industry. The reason I'm pointing out to this is at school, you all have clubs and organizations, right? Participate in them. Participate in them. So many times I know as a kid growing up, people didn't want to participate in clubs because they didn't think it wasn't cool. No, if there's a math club, join a math club. If there's a chess club, join a chess club. You're going to continue to do that for the rest of your life. You're going to have to interact with other people and help support other people. That's what life is all about. So what do I do as a financial advisor? I think this is one of your questions, right? You can see some of the answers on the screen. Bottom line is I help people make better decisions with parts of their finances. Now, we all said earlier that we all handle money, right? Or have had to handle money. Is that right? Yes? No? Yeah, everybody's parent or grandparent, aunt, uncle, somebody's put money in your hand before, right? Now, my question is, when they give you the money, do they give you instructions with it? They don't? Have you ever looked on the back of a dollar bill and seen instructions? No? So think about that. Everybody has to deal with money, and it doesn't come with instructions. That's the thing. I just want you to think about that for a minute. So that's why people like me exist, is that we help people understand what to do with their money. So it could be anything relating to planning for their retirement, investing the money, looking at insurance. All these things are going to be things you're going to have to deal with as an adult. But today you don't think about them. They're not as important, but guess what? It still takes money. Now, as a child, when we talk about how you handle money, how many of you all get an allowance? How many of you all have a bank account? How many of you all put money in the bank account on a regular basis? Like once a month or every time you get a birthday? Okay. All right. Very good. Now, how many of you all would just say you sometimes feel like you waste money? Wow. Okay. So help me out. Why do you think you waste money? You buy things that you want but don't need. Okay. Yes, sir. Why do you think you waste money? Please speak up. She said you waste money on Fortnite, but you don't think that you do. Okay, anybody else? Yes, ma'am. You think you need it, but in reality, you really don't. Okay. Ah, did everybody hear what she said? I know down here they couldn't because they were talking. She said, if I try to save up for something else and I spend it on something else, then I don't have the money for what I want, right? Yes, Landon. Please speak up. You do too much money on 2K. So you say, so that's the second person I heard say you spend too much money on video games, right? Okay. So what it comes down to, one thing that's very interesting, I'm so glad you all said it. You all said it best, is there's a difference between spending money on what you need versus what you want. Spending money on what you need versus what you want. And that's the thing that's so funny about money. Money is always going to end up going one way or the other. It's going to be spent. It's going to be used. And that's the first thing. And I want everybody to write this down. Money is a tool. Money is a tool. Why do I say it's a tool? It's because it's something that you use to get or to do something else. That's why it's a tool. That's what a tool helps you with, right? A hammer helps put nails in, right? A screwdriver helps screw screws in, right? A wrench helps tighten or loosen certain nuts and bolts, right? So money helps you get to do something or to buy something. It's a tool. Without it, you can't do something or you can't buy it. Right? So did you hear what I said? What did I say? Okay, very good. You got part of it. You heard the money is a tool. So write that down. Money is a tool. So it's very important to understand how to use the tool. Has anybody ever used a tool before and not known how to use it? You have? Yeah, screwdriver, right? I never forget the first time I was with my dad. He says, hand me a Phillips. And I handed him, he said, no, that's the wrong one. That's a flathead. And I didn't know the difference. I had to learn the difference, right? Yes. A drill. A drill is a tool also. So the reason why I mention that money is a tool, I want you to think of it in the exact same way as tools in a toolbox. You use it for a specific reason or a specific purpose. But the important thing, and I'm so glad you all mentioned it, is understanding the difference between a need and a want. What happens if you spend all your money on all your wants? There it is. She said it. Everybody heard what she said? So please speak louder. Come on, y'all. There you go. If you spend all your money on your wants, you don't have money for your needs. Now, has anybody ever had that happen to them before? Oh, that happened yesterday. Does anybody want to testify? No, seriously. I mean, like, come on, this is an experience. Who did that happen to? It happened to you? So what happened? Why? On? What'd you use it on? Okay, so now what did you learn from that experience? On. Okay, or to have an understanding though, like now again, let's go back. She said not to spend your money. You can spend your money, but you have to have a plan for your money. So let's go back to, remember I said, what did I say? What are the 5 words? Proper. Okay, so when you have money, the first thing you need to identify or understand, this young lady said it a few minutes ago, she said, if I'm saving money up for something. So if you get money, the first thing you need to think about, am I saving for something that I want to do or get? Anybody want to save for a pair of gym shoes? Or save for a new game? Right? So as you get the money, think about what you're saving for, because if you just go to the store and spend it right then, you won't have, as she said it earlier, the money to be able to save for what you want to do. The next thing is, especially, now you all went to Chicago, right? How many days were you there? No, 2 days. So if you spend everything on the first day, would you have anything for the second day? No. So proper preparation means that you prepare to have money for each day, right? So if I have 2 days and I decide to divide my money up on both days and I got $40, how much should I spend on one day? You see how easy that is? Everybody see how easy that is? If you sit down and you think first before you spend, excuse me, young lady, were you listening to what I said? What did I just say? Yes, I did. I said think first before you spend. But it's just a matter of thinking ahead, proper preparation. Is everybody with me so far? All right. So think about this. When you become an adult, you're going to have the same challenges. Even if you make hundreds of thousands of dollars, you'll have the same challenge. Now, I want to ask you this question. As you look at this picture on the screen, can you tell me which of these kids are most financially well off? Anybody? Okay, I see you got your hand up. Which were you going to say? How can you tell? I didn't hear you. Because how they look. Okay, all right. Yeah, you have your hand up, sir? Bless you. And why do you say that? Okay. I think this young lady, she gave the best answer. She gave an honest answer, and you all gave honest answers too. But guess what she said? She said, I don't know. I mean, really, think about it. The reason why I'm pointing this out to you, guess what? At one point in time, I could put all 4 of your pictures up there. I could pick any of the 4 of you and just put your picture up there. The reason I'm saying that is that all of us start off at this stage in life. We don't know anything. Somebody's taking care of us. Somebody's showing us everything so that we can learn it. There's no such thing as being born a saver. Nobody's born a saver. Nobody's born knowing how to handle money. It's something that we learn over time. So that's why I'm speaking to you about it today, so you can learn about it not as you get older. Because if I put a dollar bill, $10 bill, or $100 bill in any of those babies' hands, would they know the difference? Right? They would have no clue. Now, if I said to you all, if I had a $5 bill, $20 bill, and a $100 bill, you all would know the difference, right? Because you're older now. Guess what? As you get older, that same responsibility and expectation is going to continue to come. So it's important. Now it's up to you. Now it's up to each and every one of you, because you all understand words, you understand directions, you understand instructions. It's up to you to be financially well off. It's not up to anybody else. Is everybody with me so far? So you can't ever look up and say, no one told me, because we're here telling you today. So with that being said, when we talk about a financial advisor, this is, again, giving you some additional things. I think the question that you had, this gives some tips on how we help some adults with decisions that they have to make, things that they have to do financially. So think of it this way. Those of you who said you want to go to school, guess what? That means the parent, your parent, needs to prepare or think about the day you go to school, because is college free? Costs money. Some schools, she says some schools, community college is free. That's right, community college is free, but majority of schools are not free. Even to go to a vocational school is not free. If you want to go on a college tour, is that free? No. So I want to help you understand, again, money is a tool. Everything in life costs. So we help people plan for those things. Anybody in here want to get married one day, right? Marriage costs. Yeah, marriage costs. Anybody want to own a home? Is a home free? Right? Right? For you all right now it is. Is it because nobody's paying any bills, are you? No, none of y'all paying any bills. Bottom line is that all these things cost and they all take money. So you need to understand how to manage your money, because as an adult, guess what happens as an adult if you spend all your money on wants and don't have it left for the needs? You got it. He said you get broke and you can't do nothing. Try not paying your cell phone bill. The cell phone gets cut off. Try not paying your car. They'll come and take your car back. If you don't pay where you live, they could take the house from you. So it's important now. Now it's really important, right? We're not talking about not being able to eat, but it's important now because I got to keep a roof over my head. That's an example of a need. I got to keep some food in the house. That's a need. As an adult, do I want to go to a concert? Do I want to play video games? Yeah, but if I spend all my money on that and don't take care of my needs, guess what? Who's in trouble? And my family. Is everybody with me? All right. So we need to understand this concept, especially children. I know you heard your parents say it before. Money doesn't grow on trees. Anybody heard that before?
Yeah, but paper grows on trees, but money is paper.
No. But okay, well, if money grows on trees, go outside and pull me out a 20. Right? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Money's made of paper, but money doesn't grow on trees. And the reason why I bring this up is you all need to understand that concept, that this is very important. Money only grows when you invest money. Everybody understand when I say that? Money only grows when you invest money, meaning that you only have money to go get, like how you get an apple or an orange off a tree. You can only go get money when you put it somewhere in the first place. Everybody listening? I just say. Right. Money only grows when you invest it. She said it. Money only grows when you invest it. It does not grow on trees. It only grows when you put it somewhere so it can grow. And that's how I help my clients. So let's talk about the difference between what is wealthy and what is rich. If anybody could just read it out loud for us. If somebody who can give us a loud voice. Go right ahead. Read it loud so everybody can hear it. Yeah. You can read all of it. All right. Thank you very much. So let's go back to what we talked about earlier a few minutes ago about spending money on all of our wants, right? So if we're spending our money on all of our wants, is there any way that we could accumulate money or build it up? Accumulate means to save it. Is there any way to save it if it's already spent? Okay. But notice what it says in that definition. It says it's a mindset. The reason why I'm bringing out this term, it's a mindset, is you have to have the right mind on how to handle money before you get it. Everybody hear what I said? You have to have the right mind on how to handle money before you get it. Because what happens if you haven't thought about it in advance, you haven't thought about what you want to do, you'll just end up spending it. Let me ask this question. Has anybody ever thought that if I just had more money, things would be okay? Anybody ever thought that? Anybody ever seen the billboard that shows what the lottery is? 200 million, 300 million. Have you ever dreamed or imagined what it'd be like to have that much more money? Yeah? Or have you seen some of the athletes on TV and you see the big contracts they get and you say, wow, I wish I could have a contract like that. Nobody's ever imagined that or dreamed that? Okay. So let me share with you, having more money is not the solution. It's not the solution. The reason why I tell you that, believe it or not, 44% of lottery winners file bankruptcy. Does anybody know what bankruptcy is? No? Bankruptcy simply means that you spent all your money and you actually still owe some. That's what debt is also. Remember we just read on the previous screen that debt is the issue, right? Debt means that you owe more money than actually what you bring in, and you owe more money than what you actually have. So let me give an example here. And when you win a lottery, especially here in Michigan, it's public information. So you can't remain private. So for example, if I won the lottery, won $100 million, you'd know about it because my name is reported. But if you take a look, let's just look at one person here. Let's take Andrew Jack Whitaker. This man won $315 million and spent it all. Spent it all, ended up in bankruptcy. Then you have another person, Billy Bob Harold Jr., $31 million. Now, $31 million, who would say that life would be a lot easier with $31 million? Well, you think it might be, right? But that's not always the case if you don't know how to handle it. Does anybody in here have a dog or had a dog? Has anybody in here ever walked a dog that's just pulling them all the way like this and you don't control the dog? Is that fun? Your dog pulling you and you don't control the dog? Right? The reason I just give that example, if you think about it, a person who has their dog under control, they're not stretched out chasing after the dog. The dog is walking with them. They have the dog trained. I want you to think of that example because that's how you want to be with money. People who have a lot of money, who don't know how to handle it, they're just like a person being pulled down the street by a dog. The money's in control. And that's how they end up filing bankruptcy. But a person who can train their dog, tame their dog, the dog listens to them. And that's how you want to be with money. You want to train your mind so you can train the money. You want to be in control of money. You don't want money to be in control of you. Is everybody with me? So think about the athletes, right? Any sports fans in here? Athletes make a lot of money, right? Well, guess what? They all go broke too. These are famous athletes who, it's Mike Tyson, $400 million, filed bankruptcy. Then you have Jose Canseco. He was a famous baseball player. You may have never heard of him, but he made $45 million, filed bankruptcy. You have Terrell Owens. He used to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Anybody a Dallas Cowboys fan? Filed bankruptcy. I'm just pointing out to you the reality that money is not the issue. More money is not the issue. It's how you handle the money that's the issue. Right? A lot of us can sit here, we're like, how can that happen? I couldn't imagine having all that money and spending it. Well, guess what? It happens. It happens all the time because lack of preparation, right? Lack of preparation is poor performance. What does proper preparation do? It prevents, come on people, poor performance, right? So you don't want to find yourself being one of these individuals, regardless of how much money you bring in. Now, for a person who makes $100,000 a year, $50,000 a year, if you still spend more than what you bring in, you're in the same situation. So that's why you want to have an idea of how to handle the money. So every dollar that comes into your hand going forward, everybody write this down. Every dollar that comes into your hand is going to go into one of these four areas. You're either going to spend it, you're going to save it, you're going to invest it. Investing is different than saving, or you're going to share it. Every dollar that you earn, whether it be a birthday, Christmas gift, for good grades. Anybody get money in here for good grades? Okay, all right. Does anybody in here get money for reading books? What about get money for doing chores? Okay, that's good. So go home and give your parents this negotiation. Say, hey, Mom, Dad, you might pay me for cutting the grass or cleaning or vacuuming, but how about if you pick a book? You tell your parent, you pick the book, and I'll write a book report on it, and you pay me for the book report. Pay you $5 or $10 just to write a book report. Who wouldn't sign up for that? That your parent to pay you for a book report. The reason why you want your parent to do that, let me share with you, young people. In the world, I've seen so many different things. I see so many different ethnicities, right? Our Asian counterparts, our Indian counterparts, our Caucasian counterparts, and they're doing all the jobs that require brain labor. Our people that look like us, we do a lot of manual labor. Does everybody understand the difference? What I mean by that, you can go anywhere, a hospital, convention center, a resort, a hotel. You're going to find us doing the manual labor. I want you all to prepare yourselves to be the people who are making the decisions. And how you do that is first by reading. So go home and give your parents that challenge. Seriously, go home and say, hey, mom, dad, you pick the book. I'll read the book. I'll write a book report. You pay me for it. And what that's doing is that's conditioning you, one, to read. Number two, is conditioning you to be able to write. Number three, it's conditioning you to be able to explain the book to somebody else, understanding what you're reading. But number four, you'll get used to get paid for using your mind. That's what you want to do. You want to get paid for using your mind. Not using your back, not using your arms, not using your legs. It's okay to do that. That's okay. You can completely do that. But trust and believe, in the world, if you want to get paid well, you'll get paid more for using your mind. Because you just saw a minute ago with the athletes that we talked about, they get paid a lot of money, but guess what? Any athlete will tell you that career span is very short. Does anybody know what NFL stands for? NFL? Say it. Can I tell you what else it stands for? Not for long. Right? What I mean by that is any pro football player tell you they're done by the age of 30. Done. They're not playing football. You see any 50-year-old football players out there? 50-year-old football players. Now, he's not playing pro football. Right? All right, let's get back on topic. So back on topic is every dollar that you have will go into one of these four areas. Now, the example we talked about a few minutes ago when I asked you all about needs and wants, so where do you think the wants fall in that category? Where do the wants fall up there? Okay, where do the needs fall in that category? No, needs are spend. No, needs are spend. So what I'm saying, you notice how both those, needs and wants, fall into one category, which is just spending your money. So if all your money just goes strictly to needs and wants, do you have any money to invest? No. Do you have any money to save? Do you have any money you could give in tithes to the church? That's what sharing is. Do you have any money that you could give to the charity that needs your help? No. Right? So again, this goes back to planning, proper planning. Every dollar that you earn, have a plan for how to save some, where to invest some, and who you want to share it with. Right? So anybody ever had a friend come up to him and say, hey, man, can I borrow $1? Can I borrow $5? Right? Well, you only have that when you have money, right? If you don't have it, you can't share with anybody, can you? So that's another thing that's very important. If you want to be a person in life that can help other people out, you got to figure out how to properly manage your money so you can always be a person to help somebody out. So when we talked about debt earlier, and this is a scripture that's in the Bible. Anybody want to read that scripture at the bottom of the screen? I see you looking at it. Read it for us, where it says Proverbs 22 and 2.
Proverbs 22
and 7, I'm sorry. Yep.
Just as the rich rule the poor, so the borrower is servant to the lender.
All right. Do you know what that means? Yeah, borrower. You said it right. It's fine. Do you know what that means? Does anybody know what that means? Yeah, say it. Okay, close. All right. So what that's saying, the rich rule over the poor. So that means that the people who control the money, the people who have money, guess what they can always do? They can tell the people who don't have money how things should go. Say it again. The person you borrow money from dictates all the rules and regulations. That's right. That's the lender. The lender could be the bank. The lender could be a credit card, right? That's what that means. You're not in control of your money. This is an example, like I said a minute ago. Remember I talked about how the dog is pulling you down the street? Well, that's what happens when you owe debt. It's in control, and you're not in control. So that's why it's important to understand how to handle your money. And one of the ways, or one of the things you need to understand about handling your money is a thing called your credit score. Now, I know for a lot of you this is not applicable, but it will become very applicable very fast in life, and your credit score. So first thing is just to understand, try not to borrow money as much as possible. Now, there's certain things, whether it be a house or a car, or maybe even going to college, that you might need to borrow some money for. But beyond that, don't borrow money. Or let's say we talked about being an entrepreneur earlier. Maybe you want to borrow money to start your business, right? That'd be another example of borrowing money. But there's a thing called your credit score. Now, everybody in here is familiar with grades, right? What's the best grade you can get? A plus, right? Now, typically to get an A plus, you got to score what on a paper? 100. So think of it just that same way. 850 is 100 when it comes to credit. That's the best it can get. What that simply means is you're a person of integrity. You're a person that's demonstrated you could pay on time, meaning you're paying your bills. You're a person that doesn't owe a lot of money. You're in the best possible position. Now, what's the worst grade you can get on a paper? An F. What is it? Now, if somebody got an F on a paper, what does that mean? You guys, now, not all the time, but now let me ask this question. If you got an F on a paper, did you really prepare for it? Right? You can't say you stayed up all night and studied and still got an F, right? You would have did a little bit better than that. So when we relate this to your finances, an F in this example is when you fall into that very low credit score area, below 450 or below 500. And what that simply means is that you're a person that is not honoring your debts. You're a person that's not paying your bills on time. Remember I showed you the screen a few minutes ago about the people who filed bankruptcy? Yeah, the pro athletes and the other people who won the lottery. They were not paying their bills on time. They fell into what's called a very low credit score, and it says credit would be denied altogether, which means you would no longer be able to borrow any money. So understand this. Again, today I know it's not applicable because none of you all are borrowing money, but let's use this example. Let's say I'm a friend of yours and you gave me $5. I borrowed $5 from you. Right? Now, has anybody ever had that happen? Right? That's an example. Okay. And now, what if I didn't pay you back? Would you let me borrow money again in the future?
No.
Why?
Because you ain't
Okay. So it works the same way in the world. If you don't pay it back, nobody else is going to give you any more money. Everybody make sense? All right. So this is just some things here, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that one. I'm going to pass by it, but it just talks about things that affect your credit score. Again, one of the most important things you can see here is based on how much you owe and are you paying. So going back to that example with the friend with the $5, your payment history. Be a person of good character. Remember we talked about that earlier? A person of good character, a person of integrity. Honor your debt if you owe it. Now, the thing is, remember we talked about rich versus wealthy? There was a term on the screen. It was called net worth. Has anybody heard that before? Net worth? That's right. It's what you're worth, really. The bottom line, net worth meaning all the things that you own, do they have value? Now, the problem is in the world today, so many of us like to look like we have a lot of money, but we don't. And how we do that is we try to drive a car that we really can't afford. So I'm here to tell you the first thing is owning a car does not give you money. Cars don't go up in value. How you want to think of it this way, let's take a look. Everybody's wearing shoes, right? If you wear a pair of shoes every single day, do they typically wear out or do they get better? A car is the exact same way. You drive a car every day, eventually it's going to stop running, right? It goes down in value. That's what the term depreciation means. It goes down in value. So don't put money in things that go down in value. That's why I crack up when we talk about shoes. People were spending $400 and $500 for a pair of shoes that eventually what? They're going to wear out if you wear them. Now, do shoes do any good if I only leave them on the shelf? That's not the purpose of them, right? Shoes are meant to be worn, just like a car is meant to be driven. Shouldn't buy shoes just to say, hey, I got them. And they say, well, put them on. No, I'm not wearing those. What's the point in having them? Doesn't make sense. So you shouldn't spend a lot of money on shoes. What you should spend money on are things that go up, which is called appreciate, go up in value. That's how your money makes money. So if you're a homeowner, a person that owns a home, and you own it for a long period of time, the value of your property goes up. That's called appreciation. So not only could you own your home, but imagine if you owned multiple homes. That's called an appreciation. It's called net worth. It's called how money makes money for you. So speaking of Nike, anybody in here own a pair of Nikes? Who in here has ever paid less than $50 for a pair of Nikes? Okay, you can catch them like that every blue moon. Typically, are Nikes expensive?
Jordans are expensive than Nike.
Well, who owns Jordans? They're- Same company. No, it's all Nike. It's a different logo. That's all it is.
Yeah, but Nike is still cheaper than Jordan.
Okay, but let me ask this question. So if you look at a pair of Nike shoes like I have on the screen there, this is somebody selling, you see that all the time, selling a pair of used Nikes for $350. They're selling them for $350. Did you know you could own a part of the company for $60? What I'm showing you on the screen, it's a little bit old now. I know Nike's a little bit higher now, but Nike stock is $60 per share. You could be an owner in the company. That's what investing is. Investing is where you put your money into a company to be a part owner. Anybody ever ordered off of Amazon before? Now, let's go back to that term entrepreneur. Anybody know the guy who started Amazon, his name? His name is Jeff Bezos. So remember I talked about an entrepreneur. What does an entrepreneur do?
It helps people with their money. Help people with their money, like when they're retiring or something.
That's what a financial advisor does. But we talk about an entrepreneur. Correct. She said an entrepreneur creates a business. So let's go back to this guy, Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon. Does anybody know how Amazon started? In his garage, at his house, he was selling books. That's where he started. And guess what? He wasn't selling new books, he was selling used books. That's where Jeff Bezos started. Does that sound like a silly idea?
Yeah.
Right? Imagine I come to you and say, hey man, let's start a business. Let's sell books out of my garage. That's where he started. And guess where Amazon is today? Global company worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So what I'm trying to tell you all, when I started off earlier, remember I was talking about an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur sees a need in society, comes up with a solution, and that's what he saw. He saw there was a need for some sort of overnight shipping, being able to get together all the products. Amazon doesn't own any of the products it sells. Let me say that again. Amazon does not own any of the products it sells. All it does is just create a distribution center for people to come to one place to order products from multiple places. And you can own part of Amazon. It shows $201 a share, $213 a share, excuse me. Anybody in here have an iPhone? Can you buy an iPhone for less than $200? The one that works? Yeah, the old ones, right? You were talking about iPhone 4? Yeah, okay, same thing. It's okay, right. But my point, so saying all that, but most phones cost at least $1,000, $800, $500, right? You could own a part of the company. Why do you want to own a part of the company? Let me make it simple, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on individual companies. Every human being on this planet, every last one of us, no matter what country you're in, everybody needs food, everybody needs clothing, everybody needs electricity, everybody needs shelter. There are companies that make all these products and services. Say it again. There are companies that make these products and services. So instead of just buying from them, how about owning them? So that way, every time somebody else buys from them, guess who makes money? You got it, because you're the what? Investor. You're the owner. That's what investing is all about, is being an owner in commerce. So that's why I'm using examples of things that you all use. So a lot of times, so many people, especially young people, when they start investing, they say, Joe, what should I buy? What should I buy? I say, buy what you use. Right? Anybody ever been to Costco? Costco is a publicly traded stock. Anybody ever been to Disney? Disney's a publicly traded stock. Anybody got a Sony PlayStation? Sony is a publicly traded stock. You see the example I'm giving you right now? Everything that you're using are companies that you could buy and own. But guess what? It takes money to buy them. So if you spend all your money on your wants, do you have any money to invest? So you got to manage your money properly. So a lot of times I help people if they can't understand picking individual stocks. I help them understand how to invest safely And one of the ways of doing that is buying an index. You have what's called the Standard & Poor's 500 index, and this just gives you a snapshot of some of the companies that make up the index. So as you look at the screen, tell me, are there any companies that you've utilized? Anybody watch Netflix? Anybody ride in a Chevrolet before? A Chevy car, Chevy truck? Anybody ever use Kraft cheese or Kraft mayonnaise? Been to McDonald's? Anybody been on a Delta airplane? Anybody been to Walmart before? Right, so this is an example. You see this list. This is not all 500. This is just, I can't fit all 500 on the screen. This is just some. So you can have one investment, which is called the Standard & Poor's 500 Index, and own all these companies. Now, think about this. Are all these companies going to go out of business at one time? No. No, there's no way. Remember, human beings, as long as human beings are on this planet, we need products and services. So when we talked about net worth, this again is an example. We're talking about the value of the things that you own. Everything that you own, again, you have debts. If you have debts, you have to minus out your debts. This is how you build your net worth. So remember, there's a difference between a wealthy person and a rich person. Anybody remember that when we talked about it earlier? The difference between a wealthy person and a rich person? What's the difference? I heard somebody say yes. Say it. Go ahead, you were saying it. There we go. She said it. She said, wealthy people see money as a way to make more money. Rich people just spend the money. Right? Now, one of the things I want to point out, she said they have it easier. Being wealthy is not easy.
Oh, no, I'm not rich.
Okay, well, being rich is not easy either. Handling money is not easy. I don't want anybody to ever think just because, again, we saw people who had $300, $400, $500 million, they lost it all. So having more money is not easy. But again, remember, it starts with a mindset. Starts with a mindset. And that is it for today. Any questions anybody have for me? I know I've done a lot of talking the last hour. No questions? Well, let me ask, did you all answer all the questions on your paper? You sure? Okay. Yes, ma'am. You said, what other jobs have I worked? Great question. So she said, what other jobs have I worked? I could tell you, I've pretty much worked all my life. When I was your age, I actually had a paper route at one time. A paper route is where people used to get newspapers delivered at their home. And 3 days out of the week, I'd have to ride my bike throughout my neighborhood and place the newspaper on people's front porch. That was one of the first jobs that I have. I used to also work for a guy who would do lawn care and yard work. So I would go, I'd be raking leaves and picking up leaves in the fall and in the spring. I did that when I was younger. I worked at a grocery store when I was in high school. You all would call it Kroger today, but back then I used to work at a place called Farmer Jack. No, I know nobody's ever heard of that. And I used to bag groceries. So when you came to the store, I was the guy standing there. Your groceries came down, I would bag groceries and put them in your cart. I did that for a number of years in high school. And when I was in college, I also worked when I was in college. I worked at a clothing store. One of the stores is still open, a place called The Buckle. Anybody ever heard of The Buckle? Clothing store. Yep, I've worked there. And I worked at a restaurant. I was a waiter when I was in college as well. So I did all those things before I got into the financial services industry, which is what I got into when I graduated from school. Do I like working at my job? I love what I do. I really do. What's most beneficial to me about what I do is I interact with a lot of people. And so I've had the opportunity and the experience to learn so much from many other people, from their experiences in life. And what I do also helps other people achieve their goals. So it's very rewarding to me when I see people achieve their goals. I've been to people when they've started a business, when they bought the new home, when their children have graduated. I've gone to the open houses. I've been to the marriages. So those are very rewarding things that I like about my job. What's the last question? Where do I start working or what? Oh, ever since I was a kid. Yeah, I mean, I've been working all along. Yeah, yeah. Say it one more time, honey. Yep. So right after I graduated. So I graduated. Well, interesting. So the part I didn't tell you about it is, so I graduated with a 4-year degree from Northwood University. I graduated in May of '94, and when I finished in May of '94, I came home. And that summer, the very first summer after I graduated, I spent the entire summer in the Southfield Public Library studying so I could obtain my licenses. So I hold 6 different licenses now, but the first license I had to study for was a Series 7 license. It's like a lawyer taking a bar exam. It was a very hard test, but I spent the entire summer Southfield Library taking the test, and I got licensed in September of '94. That was my first exam I passed, and I passed my Series 65. Right after that, going into the following year, 1995, and that's when I started in the industry. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, that's the only one person that had questions. All right. So let me ask you all a question. Does anybody remember what are the 5 P's? I told you all to write it down in the beginning. Remember, that's why we write things down so we can remember, right? There it is. Everybody hear what she said? So please, come here. Can you stand up? Stand up and turn around. Remember, we're going to avoid public speaking. Turn around. Tell them all what you said.
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
All right. Now, who didn't have it written down? If you didn't have it written down, write it down now. Because that is something you're going to take that for the rest of your life. There was one, let me ask you all one other question. What did I ask you to go home and talk to your parents about? All right, please stand up and share it with the rest of the group, please. Come on. We're going to get past this fear of public speaking. Turn around and tell everybody what you're going to go home and tell your parents. This is what I want everybody to do.
What did I hear?
You just said it.
Reading a book. Like, ask your parents if you can read a book for $10 or $5.
But what if they have to?
They have to pick the book.
The parents have to pick the book, say, and you have to write a report, 1-page report, and talk to them about it. Talk to your parents about what it was you read. All right. Everybody go home and ask your parents to do that. All right, very good. So one other thing, what did I ask you to go home and surprise your parents with to do tonight? Yes, you got to stand up and tell everybody, turn around. Turn around, man. Don't tell me.
Do some chores.
Like what? Give an example. Which one you want to do tonight?
Like vacuum the floor.
Okay, now you got to do it without them telling you though, right? Like soon as you get home, just do it. Surprise your parents. Your parents would be very surprised. They would like that. All right, very good. Very good. All right, well, that's all I have, people. Thank you all for your time and attention.